As promised, I told you I would be back to do an actual video. I had been reporting on the Colorado wildfires the last couple of days, and so I'm inside where the air is filtering through the air conditioning system. Well, you know, when the Lord was revealing to me about Israel restoring the monarchy and putting an earthly king on the throne of David again in place of King Yeshua, instead of him being the Messiah, they would have a replacement king that would sit in place of King Jesus, King Yeshua. I talked about how because Israel was underneath the British Empire when it first became a nation, Britain did have a big role to play in the past when Israel became a nation. And part of the British mandate is what Israel was under. Their system is highly based on the system that is in England. So I had talked about how since they would see King Charles III as their anointed one, you know, and I did this research and I found out, as you know, that Israel has absolutely considered becoming part of the British Commonwealth underneath the Commonwealth countries. All they have to do is apply, and then the king would be, you know, the ruling king over them, and he would appoint the judiciary and the judges and all of that. And the Sanhedrin would allow, you know, basically vote on to let the king rule over them. So this is all it would take, is for Israel to come under the British Commonwealth. And then I told you that in that one article that I read, that I discovered that even the Palestinians had thought about joining the Commonwealth. Well, it turned out, when I found this article just day before yesterday, there was an article written July 21st of 2015. Now, this would have been only about almost 2 months after my book was published about King Jesus, King Yeshua, and everything detailing him as the King of Israel and restoring the Davidic dynasty. But you're going to be really shocked that this goes back, this idea of the Palestinians joining as part of the Commonwealth went back to 2015. And let me just read this to you, what I discovered here in this article. The British Commonwealth, now this was dated July 21st, 2015. And this is AP Archive. The British Commonwealth could soon gain a new member from an unexpected source, Yasser Arafat's PLO. Now this was back when he was still living. But the Commonwealth, a club of nations with historic ties to Britain, has had an approach from the Palestinian Authority. Palestine was under British rule when the Jewish community there declared it to be the fledgling state of Israel in 1948. Critics claim the PLO is keen to join any group that will admit them. Commonwealth nations celebrated Commonwealth Day, and with the Queen attending, back then in 2015, attending a service of Thanksgiving at Westminster Abbey in London. It was a brief reminder of the empire, a throwback to the days when London claimed to be the center of the world. But the British Empire is long gone, critics say. The Commonwealth is also outdated. Supporters, however, claim it offers stability in a troubled world, and that is what has attracted a number of new countries in recent years, countries such as Mozambique, which were never part of the British Empire. Now there's someone else knocking at the door. It was Yasser Arafat and Commonwealth leaders appeared surprised but flattered. Here's a sound bite. Well, I think the Commonwealth will make its mind up who are to be among its members, but the fact that the PLO and then Yasser Arafat were interested in the Commonwealth, if that is so, is merely an indication, just as with excellent new members of the Commonwealth like Mozambique and the Cameroon, that it is worthwhile being a member. Super caption. Sir David Thorne, Director General, Royal Commonwealth Society. Back then, it said that Yasser Arafat had no apparent connection with the British Empire beyond a taste for Scottish-style pipe bands, which regularly garlanded his official appearances. But the PLO representative in London confirming that exploratory talks with Commonwealth leaders had taken place and said that Arafat had much to offer. And of course, now he's dead. He's been dead a long time. But it said, Mr. Arafat and the Palestinian people will bring to them enormous experience of great suffering, meaning a quest for an international system where suffering would be in a way banned, prohibited, a quest for happier relations within the international system, or less unhappy relations. So a wealth of experience and a desire for a just international system. And that was from Afif Safai, PLO representative back then in London. One immediate problem is that the Commonwealth only admits sovereign states, and at the moment, the state of Palestine doesn't exist. But PLO officials say that's a short-term problem, and they're confident that Palestine could be a member of the Commonwealth Club, and they said by the year 2000, which did not happen. So as you know, I brought you this article. It was from July 13th, 2018, and this was talking about Israel possibly becoming part of the Commonwealth. An event that received scant attention in the world's media was Queen Elizabeth, its opening of the biennial Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London that happened on April 16th, 2018, when the Queen was still living. And this is written in the Jerusalem Post. Inadequate global coverage has been the fate of the Commonwealth for many years. The Commonwealth is a facet of contemporary life that most people know or care little about. But as for the background or purposes of the organization itself, there's little general knowledge or concern. And yet the Commonwealth has the potential to exert an enormous power for good on global politics. When Elizabeth came to the throne in 1952, the Commonwealth consisted of just 7 nations, and today it's a voluntary association of 53 independent sovereign states with a combined population of some 2.4 billion people, almost a third of the world's inhabitants. That's what I was telling you. Remember all those judgments that come upon a third of the earth and the sea and a third of this and that? Well, it's interesting that that's the population of the Commonwealth. Most but not all of the member states were once part of the now defunct British Empire, which explained why the Queen was head of the organization. But what unites this diverse group of nations beyond the ties of history, language, and institutions are strong trade links and the association's 16 core values set out in the Commonwealth Charter. And of course, Britain made that agreement with Israel for trade and tech and all of that. And these Commonwealth values commit the organization to promoting world peace, democracy, individual liberty, environmental sustainability, equality in terms of race and gender, free trade, and the fight against poverty, ignorance, and disease. In short, the Commonwealth stands for all that's good in this wicked world. So these were the exact things that were in that British agreement with Israel, all of those specified details. It was in 1884 that Lord Rosebery, later a British Prime Minister, first dubbed the British Empire a Commonwealth of Nations, and the designation British Commonwealth remained uncontroversial until 1947, when India achieved independence. Although the new state became a republic, the Indian government was very keen to remain in the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth, unwilling to lose the jewel in its crown, found no difficulty in changing the rules of the club. Henceforth, British was to be dropped from the title of the organization, and membership did not have to be based on allegiance to the British crown. Members were to be free and equal members of the Commonwealth of Nations, freely cooperating in the pursuit of peace, liberty, and progress. Since then, fully independent countries from all parts of the globe have flocked to join the Commonwealth. At first, all were required to have some historic connection to the old British Empire, until two nations with absolutely no such ties applied to join. And once again, the Commonwealth demonstrated a flexibility remarkable in bureaucracies, and by sleight of hand further amended the rules to allow first Mozambique and a few years later Rwanda to join. Applications and expressions of interest in joining the Commonwealth continue to arrive from a wide diversity of states. Back in 2012, the House of Commons Foreign Affairs Select Committee considered the role and future of the Commonwealth, and in general welcomed the idea of the organization extending its membership, always provided a stringent selection procedure was maintained. We welcome the fact that the Commonwealth continues to attract interest from potential new members, reads the final paragraph of their report, and see advantages in greater diversity and an extended global reach for the Commonwealth. However, it is crucial that the application process is rigorous and that any new members are appropriate additions to the Commonwealth family, closely adhering at all times to its principles and values. Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian Authority, or a sovereign Palestine, if or when this comes to pass, would, if they applied to join the Commonwealth, certainly meet the original criterion of historic ties with the British Empire. In point of fact, both the Palestinians and Israel have, in the past, toyed with this possibility. And just like I just read you about Yasser Arafat wanting to join. In February 1997, the UK's independent newspaper carried a story under the headline, "Palestine Looks at Membership of the Commonwealth." It reported that the representative of the Palestinian Liberation Organization to Britain, Afif Salah, had suggested that the PLO might seek associate membership of the Commonwealth as a temporary measure while awaiting the establishment of a sovereign Palestinian state. Once the Palestinians achieve self-determination, ran the story, the Commonwealth Secretary General at that time, Amika Anyaku, sees no obstacle to Palestine becoming well, I don't know what number it would be now, because I think there's 56 members, and this said 54, so several have joined since then, but it would be a member of the organization. 10 years later, in December of 2007, the Jewish Journal reported this: as a former British colony, Israel is being considered for Commonwealth membership. Commonwealth officials said that they had set up a special committee to consider membership applications by several Middle Eastern and African nations. Those interested in applying include Israel and the Palestinian Authority, both of which exist on land ruled by a British mandate from 1918 to 1948. An Israeli official did not deny the report, but said this issue was not on their agenda right now. So it's going to be in the future. I definitely do believe this is going to be the solution that they're going to come up with. The idea of full membership still seems politically unrealistic, but the prospect of forging some sort of link between Israel and the Commonwealth family of nations has recently gained some substance. The Royal Commonwealth Society, known as the RCS, is a voluntary organization, distinct from, but highly supportive of the Commonwealth itself. Founded as far back as 1868, it is committed to improving the lives and prospects of Commonwealth citizens across the world. The RCS boasted the Queen as its patron, and numbers among its vice presidents the UK Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, the Commonwealth Secretary General, and all the Commonwealth High Commissioners in London. The RCS, under its director, then Michael Lake, recently embarked on an ambitious program aimed at raising the profile and relevance of the modern Commonwealth. The Commonwealth, he said, has been very introspective. It needs to be more extrovert. In pursuit of that objective, he said, we have adopted a policy of getting branches of the Commonwealth in non-Commonwealth countries. The idea, he said, was to promote mutually advantageous links with reliable friends around the world on everything from business to defense. A new branch of the RCS had already opened in Helsinki, Finland's capital, when in 2017 the RCS opened a chapter in Dublin as part of a campaign to help persuade the Irish Republic to rejoin the organization. The most recent development was the opening in February 2018 with the blessing of President Donald Trump of a U.S. branch in Mississippi with a view to eventually bringing America into the Commonwealth fold as an associate member. So all of our revolutionary ancestors would be rolling over in their graves. A concept not yet accepted by Commonwealth, but being promoted by the RCS. Mississippi Governor then, Phil Bryant, who was an ally of Trump, was serving as the branch's chairman of the Board of Governance. A major driving force behind the RCS's expansion program was Brexit, the decision of the British people to leave the EU, and Brexit freed the UK from many of the trade constraints imposed by membership of the EU and allowing it to pursue trading opportunities across the globe. Israel's long been regarded by the UK as a prime future trading partner, which they made that agreement, within a year or two ago. And a UK-Israel free trade deal that was already in negotiation at the time of the writing of this went through. And in the circumstance, Israel would seem an obvious future location for an RCS branch office. It's not generally known that Israel boasts an Israel, Britain, and Commonwealth Association, IBCA, a body formed as far back as 1953 with the aim of encouraging, developing, and extending social, cultural, and economic relations between Israel and the Commonwealth. The IBCA would seem the appropriate broker to seek a Royal Commonwealth Society connection, leading, as in the U.S., to associate membership. How would this benefit Israel? Although the Commonwealth is not a trading bloc, trade between members is rising strongly, and it's projected to surpass $1 trillion by 2020, which it did. Among the drivers of increased intra-Commonwealth trade is the so-called Commonwealth effect. Trade between Commonwealth members is on average 20% higher and trade costs 19% lower compared with in-trading between other partners. Enormous potential exists to increase intra-Commonwealth trade even further. So let me just say something right here. Just before the surprise attacks on October 7th, when Hamas went into Israel, Netanyahu held up that sign at the United Nations that said a new Middle East, and he showed the trade corridor going all the way up to France and all the way down to India, crossing over right through Gaza. So they have an agenda to obtain Gaza, and now people in Israel are saying, let the Christians come and, hang out in Gaza and create the peace. So there was a method to the madness. to create this trade area that's going to be one of the strongest trade ties through that region, and it will include all kinds of underwater fiber optic cables, oil reserves, gas reserves, and it's going to make Israel wealthy in the last days. Israel's trade ties with India could serve as a template. So see, that's where this trade corridor starts. It's down in India and goes through Israel through the Gaza Strip. The India-Israeli trading relationship has recently been greatly strengthened, while some of the fields in which Israeli expertise is being deployed would be highly relevant to other developing Commonwealth countries. And for example, in 2013, Israel introduced a scheme to help India diversify and raise the yield of its fruit and vegetable crops. By March of 2014, 10 centers of excellence were operating throughout India, offering free training sessions for farmers in efficient farming, inefficient agricultural techniques using Israeli technology and know-how, including vertical farming, drip irrigation, and soil solarization. A year later, no less than 29 such centers were in operation. Now 25 more are being set up across the subcontinent. One outcome among very many is a made-in-India version of high-quality Israeli oranges, which are about to hit the Indian market, grown from disease-free plants nurtured through Israeli scientific techniques. An RCS branch office in Israel, followed perhaps by associate membership of the Commonwealth, would give Israel access to dozens of developing countries that would benefit immensely from Israeli expertise in cutting-edge agricultural technologies. Politically, given the spread of Commonwealth countries across the globe, strengthened trading bonds could help develop warmer relations and foster greater understanding between Israel and the rest of the world. So this is how, in the last days, Israel is going to restore the monarchy and allow a king to sit on the supposed throne of David as a replacement king, because they reject King Jesus, but they will see this anointed king as their king. And if they put the Palestinian state together, then both Israel and Palestine could come under the king, under this Commonwealth of the British monarchy. And that's how you would have Israel be elevated in the last days, the scarlet harlot, and when the destruction comes, it's going to be people weeping and wailing because they can't trade anymore through that corridor, and with the merchant ships that are going to be coming there from all over the world. So this is just something that's really astonishing to me, that this idea goes back to when Yasser Arafat visited London and the Queen and talked about if, Palestine becomes a state, how they would like to be under the British monarchy and be under the Commonwealth and be under the British Commonwealth of now, it would be King Charles III. So this is how I believe it's all going to go down and how it's going to come about. And if Donald Trump has these big ideas for America, that would be really shocking and could drag us into a global peace situation through everybody coming under the British Commonwealth, because they'll see it as beneficial to become and gain membership. I would pray that the American citizens are wise enough to realize the truth of our history with Britain and King George, and would not go under any kind of monarchy ever again. So this part about Yasser Arafat talking to the Queen about it is really stunning to me. So I wanted to add that to this, how this could all come about. And in the book of Revelation, Israel would make King Charles III their king. And it could very easily be accomplished through gaining membership by both sides. And then the king would broker the peace between the two. And they already have their trade agreement with the British monarchy, with Israel. So wealth would be coming through that corridor, and that was the whole purpose of the entire situation with Gaza and why Israel wants to take control of the Gaza Strip. They have to control it in order for this corridor to happen. So all eyes are on the fact that since this is happening, that King Jesus is going to return. We don't know exactly when, but soon and very soon, the true king is coming. And he's going to put away all of these kingdoms, and he's going to rule there in Jerusalem. So with that, I'll just say thank you for tuning in to my channel, Elijah and Moses. My name is Kimberly Ballard. Thank you for giving me a thumbs up and subscribe and support my channel. Well, I hope you found this informative. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good evening, everyone. Shalom for now.